City of Stevens Point Board of Water and Sewerage Commissioners meeting, recorded December 8, 2025.
First item of business is the approval of the minutes of last month. Any changes, corrections, additions? Not a motion is in order to approve.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Gary, for your benefit, I learned this when I was the city finance director 35 years ago. Approval of department claims is what we spent money on last month. They call them claims in every department of the city. And they do the same thing at council meetings monthly. And we approved 4 different ones, one for the water department, which we'll go through first. Are there any questions?
I've got a question on 60691, the street improvement project. Was that all of the street improvements?
No. Sorry. Project number 25-101, and then you can see 25-102. That'd be the Madison Ave project down by the train yard, and then 102 is Washington Avenue. So those 2 projects this year that we reconstructed, this would be the water cost only.
Just water?
Correct.
Good.
Probably one of the payments, and it's not the entire project either.
Yeah, August payment, and you'll notice on their retirement insurance fuel, so every month we get a bill from the city just on things that run through the city. So when our trucks fuel at the city pumps, the fact that WRS stuff for Wisconsin Retirement comes through them, so we always get a fairly hefty bill, and they just lumped in our portion of the reconstruction projects on that. And that dollar amount is one that we true up with engineering. So we tell them, yes, this is the stuff that went in that we need to pay for. The city pays the contractor, we pay the city.
Gotcha.
Just so it's a little more efficient.
Any other question about the water department claims? If not, we'll go on to sewage department. Again, questions? Hearing none, we'll advance to stormwater department. Anything there suspicious looking?
No.
And then finally is the fiber network, which is, you can all see, is very simple. We need a motion to approve all 4 sets of claims.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. It's that time of the year when Joel checks his calendar and reminds us that we want to talk about a cost of living adjustment for our stipend that we get on a 2-week basis. So he's got some historical information there and what they're recommending for 2026. Joel?
Yeah, so we just applied the 2.64 cost of living adjustment that has already been established for city staff as a whole, added that to 25, and you see the numbers there. So just a little background so everybody remembers, we probably went 15 years without looking at this, and then several years ago, maybe around 2020, we used a few other things like common council pay and that to kind of compare where we should be for commissioner pay. And since then, we've been applying COLA to it just to kind of keep pace.
Yeah, up until 2 or 3 years ago, we used to only request an increase about every 5 to 8 years. And then I didn't even realize that the rest of the city was doing COLA until you mentioned it 3 years ago. So this makes it a lot easier and a lot less guessing. So do you want us to have a motion recommending we adopt the COLA?
Yes, please.
Motion is in order.
I would move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both same sign. Motion carried. On to the water supply and distribution report.
Good afternoon, all. I've nothing else to add on top of this. Anna did bring up prior to the meeting that our kilowatts were up this year compared to last, but our pumpage is slightly down. So I'm going to look into that for next meeting and just review where our kilowatts could be going. Like I said, it could potentially be heating, could be anything to do with the weather. So I'll look into it and report back next month. Any questions for me?
Okay, if not, we'll go on to the sewage treatment report. Chris?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. The wastewater plant did meet all of our permit requirements for the month of November. And the big news is if you've been outside and kind of around the dryer building anywhere, you can smell that it's actually running again. So dryer's up, biosolids dryer's up and running. I think we have it figured out. I thought that one other time and I was wrong, but I currently believe that we will be back operational and good to go going forward. If anybody has any questions, I will field them. Otherwise, that's all I got.
Questions?
I had a question, because I know you explained it, but I think I need it again. The ammonia is up,
Yep.
and why is that?
So you look at oh, where am I?
It's down.
It's down. It's here. So you'll notice this sharp increase.
Right.
We biologically remove phosphorus and ammonia, and our facility is only designed to do one of them at a time. We've been removing phosphorus biologically, and during the summer months when it was really low, we were actually doing ammonia biologically as well. The book said we were not physically able to do that, and we were trying to prove the book right or wrong, and we have since proven the book correct. We cannot do both of them at the same time. But with our ammonia limit, our ammonia limit's actually, it says here it's 34, it's actually 52 per week. So as long as those numbers don't go above 52, so at the top of the graph, we are compliant with our permit. And we do still remove some ammonia, we just can't remove all of the ammonia and all the phosphorus together, or the plant gets upset and then we don't meet either of them. So we'd rather meet one and make sure we meet it, and then do our best to keep this one as close to in line as we can.
Okay.
Any other questions of Shane? If not, we'll go on to construction and maintenance. Shane, Chris, Shane.
One of you do it.
Good afternoon. I really don't have anything to add to the report itself. We're getting closer to winter operations, so getting to be that time of year, but nothing to add to the report.
Can you tell me again, you've explained it before, what is a punch list?
A punch list, that's when a job is completed, there's inevitably a list of small items that need to be touched up or fixed, or it could be anything just before final payment.
Okay.
And that job is officially closed out.
Sounds good.
They're used on almost every construction project that exists. We have them at the bank with contractors when they build new houses. It's a generic term. Anything else for questions for Shane? If not, Joel tells me he has some new information in his report for the month.
Yeah, just one item. If you guys have seen for tonight, the Public Works agenda has a memo from me on it because the alders will be there mostly. Without action, without proposed ordinance amendments or anything, but it's dealing with Park Ridge again. At the time that we last acted on this, the ordinance language that was proposed said that Park Ridge could do one project, and that was the one you saw on Greenbrier and Hillcrest. Are those the two streets?
Correct.
With water main. And that their next one wasn't allowed until we had a consolidation agreement. At that time, I think the conversation was revolving around the fact that a consolidation agreement was something different than what it actually is. I believe the council's intent was that no more utilities until we know that there's an eventuality of Park Ridge more or less annexing, that's the wrong term in this case, but becoming part of the city. A consolidation agreement by definition does not dissolve one entity into the other. It just makes an agreement whereby you work together on one or several things. We're already doing that on fire, on water, on wastewater. We used to with transit more so than we do now. There's a bunch of things that we have separate agreements on. We could write a consolidation agreement that brings all those together and says, here's officially how we operate together as municipalities. And if that's the intent, fine. What's happening here, though, is that I think the intent of the council was to have the known merger of these two municipalities on the horizon before they engineer and construct their next water main project. And that's not how that works. So we're in a bit of limbo. And so tonight, I'm going to ask today at our staff meeting at 2, I'm going to ask the city attorney to put out there a little more about what the options are and just to have some clear direction, because they're ready to start designing their second project right now. And we do not have a consolidation agreement, mostly because part of that with the intent is that they'd have to go to referendum and say, we're doing something with the city. You can't predict the outcome of a referendum. And so our requirement for a consolidation agreement leaves a lot of unknowns out there. So, my perspective on this is that if a consolidation, if a municipal joining of some legal fashion happens down the road, the city should want as many of those utilities to have been installed at the village's expense as possible. It's headed that way. We know it is. So for them to give us the village in very inappropriate terms right now, just give us the village right now, there's not a lot of city-spec'd streets, both in condition and what kind of utilities are in there. They're less than the city, right? And so the city would be given a liability, and we should never want that. If this is headed that way, we should want new streets and utilities everywhere before we take it over, just like we'd require of a developer, right? And so my perspective is going to be, let them construct everything they want to our spec, because the more they do, the less of a liability we have if and when they ever come into the city. And because none of that is the city subsidizing the village, the village actually subsidizes us the more they do this, because they pay more for our utilities than our residents do. So this is a win-win in my eyes. The thing that's hard to get over is, in a traditional sense, the city holds their utilities for annexation when you have a neighbor and you and your neighbor are competing for a valuable development that you want in your community, and they need utilities. And you're not going to say, well, yeah, you can have our utilities, you don't need to annex, because then that development goes there and not to you. We don't have that scenario here because there's no property left in Park Ridge. It's all residential. Nothing, and because you can't annex a village. You can annex a town or township, but you can't annex from a village to a city, which is also what makes the consolidation agreement awkward. It's kind of the wrong instrument to get that done. And so I'm, from a utility staff perspective, I'm fine with more utilities. That's not exactly my call. So we're going to try to get a sense of the council, because we're city-owned utilities, as to what we're okay with as a elected body, so that it can be then proposed in accurate ordinance language rather than saying we need a consolidation agreement, which actually isn't the thing that's going to get this done. So that's what's happening tonight. Once we get a sense for that, I'll bring language here the same day that it'll go to committees in a future month, but it won't be this month.
So the bottom line is more detail next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for the update.
You bet.
Of the total water mains in the whole village, how much is already done
Sure.
approximately?
The blue lines are water, red is Park Ridge. So Odessa and Angelo Court are up here.
Yeah.
Main Street goes through. This was done this year. This is Greenbrier, this is Hillcrest, and then this was already there. So where you see roads, and their sewers are in their backyards a lot. So these lines are backyards. This is the street. So there's quite a bit of the village here that isn't covered yet by water.
Okay.
Everywhere you don't see blue. But their next project I think is here to here, maybe? One of these. It just adds a little more. The big reason they want it right now is for fire protection, because they have an agreement with the city for fire protection. But everywhere they go, it doesn't make sense to put that in unless you're putting in services. And if you're putting in services, let's have a clock for how they get connected. And right now, it's basically immediately for anything that's non-complying in a well. The other thing is no new wells for domestic purposes. You can keep them for sprinklers. So if your well goes bad, you got to connect if you're not already. And then everything else is like within 10 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay,
Will the policy have to do with continuing with water supplied from the backyard, or will you want it in the street?
The sewer?
Oh,
Yeah, the sewers are mostly in the backyard, and that's been going on since 56 or so.
Yeah.
So that's fine. They own these, by the way. They own those sewers. Those belong to them. So right now, it's kind of an interesting thing. They're lined. They're originally constructed in the 50s and lined in the early 2000s. I think 01, in fact. But yeah, no. When they go down the streets for new roadways, if there's not water, if they put it in the road, accounting for, I think they are doing an 8-foot offset of the center line, right? With the water?
Yeah.
So sewers are generally down the center of the road. And so we had them design them to what we would do, and that means there's room down the center line for sewers in the future if they need to be relocated for any reason.
I guess that was my question.
And right now they're in fine shape, so there's no reason to put the money into both. But yeah.
any other questions? If not, motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll move to adjourn.
All those in favor signify by the side of aye. Aye. Pose same sign, motion carried.